Hi, my name is Sam Strang,
I'm Dylan Morrison.
and this is the Morning Snooze. Today we are going to be talking to you about our books. I am reading The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. It follows the perspective of an 8-year-old German boy born into wealth named Bruno.
And my book is The Boy Who Followed His Father to Auschwitz, written by Jeremy Dronfeld. It follows the perspective of World War II from Jewish father and son, Gustav and Fritz. And my book is The Boy Who Followed His Father to Auschwitz, written by Jeremy Dronfeld. It follows the perspective of World War II from Jewish father and son, Gustav and Fritz.
Both of our novels follow the terrible events and details of World War II. Spoken from the perspectives of German and Jewish individuals, the Holocaust took the lives of around 6 million Jews, yet that number is speculated to be much higher.
Most of the Jewish persecution happened inside the walls of concentration camps. Concentration camps held primarily Jewish individuals. The purpose of these camps were to imprison and enslave. Mass execution appeared on a daily basis.
Auschwitz is located in Poland and is the most infamous camp from World War II. Sadly, Auschwitz claimed over 1.1 million lives from 1940 to 1945. Auschwitz is the common ground between both our novels and is very important to the setting.
Auschwitz was a very large portion of both of our novels, yet they are both experienced from two different sides. Auschwitz was constructed on the backs of slave labor and was primarily used throughout the second half of the war. Jewish prisoners who were deemed useless, such as elders, women, and young children, were all sent to the gas chambers. Auschwitz heavily affected my characters, since it was the worst camp of them all. The average life expectancy of the camp was 6 weeks, but my characters managed to survive 3 years and make it alive.
Going off of that, my German character was forbidden from that area, but his adventurous behavior led him to discovering the camp, and later on meeting his new friend. Now that we've got the basis down, let's compare and contrast our two novels.
So Sam, how did the war affect your characters?
Bruno and his family were taken from their nice big house in Berlin, Germany, because of his father's job in the army that made them move to Auschwitz. The war tore Bruno's family apart, and even stressing out the mother and their servants. And later on, after discovering the horrible tragedies that took place, made the mother realize and desperately want to leave Auschwitz.
Well, in my book, the Kleinmans lived humbly and happily in Vienna, Austria. When they were separated because of the war, it was extremely difficult for one another. Being subjected to the evil Nazi party, beaten, starved, and dehumanized inside the camps, it really changed their perspective on life. They took their own freedom for granted.
So, Dylan, did the war basically segregate the whole population from the minorities?
Oh, most definitely.
So, Dylan, were any relationships or bonds formed throughout the war?
Yeah, the relationships between Gustav, Fritz, and all the other prison members could be considered one of the normal things in their otherwise difficult lives. Bonds between other Jewish captives made it easy to transport news, form alliances, and even smuggle in contraband.
That's very interesting. In my novel, because of the war, when Bruno moved away, he was taken away from his 3 best friends. But later on, after discovering the concentration camp, he met a new best friend that was a Jewish prisoner named Shamil, who he later on discovered to have the most in common with.
So, do you believe all German civilians shared the same views as Hitler?
No, I don't. I believe most were as fanatic as Hitler and his army. Bruno resembles that in the book. He resembles the majority of the population as innocents trapped in a corrupt government.
On a side note, most of our pre-existing knowledge comes from World Issues 120 with Mr. Jameson.
May he have a speedy recovery.
Yes, most definitely. Now, Hitler didn't imprison the Jews on day one. The hatred was built slowly but surely from 1930s all the way up to the 40s.
Yes, in the 40s, the Jewish hatred was so built up that they became segregated from the main population. Laws were then put in place that stripped them of their rights and eventually led them into being placed in concentration camps.
Overall, both our novels share a similar setting with contrasting perspectives.
Yeah, for one example, my character is figuratively trapped because he is unable to help his friend and is manipulated by his corrupt government.
While my characters are physically trapped inside of Auschwitz.
We believe these novels are very significant because they shed light in more detail compared to what we learned in school. What we were taught in school was the Canadian perspective of the war. We did not learn the suffering that the German and Jewish people went through under the reign of Adolf Hitler.
From the Morning Snooze, this is Dylan Morrison,
And Sam Strang.
and we're signing off.